think that the original Blair Witch Project is one of the scariest films of all time, or one of the biggest piles of twaddle that ever got a general release, you cannot deny that it was pretty much responsible for bringing the found footage genre back into the mainstream. It was also insanely profitable. It was in the Guinness Book of World Records for top budget box office ratio for a mainstream feature film. The film cost $22,000 to make and made back $240.5 million, a ratio of $1 spent for every $10,931 made. Marvel can only dream of such profit margins. Now, this isn't the first Blair Witch sequel. Blair Witch 2, Book of Shadows, was released a year later, received terrible reviews, has been declared non-canon, and was promptly buried deep under the earth, never to be spoken of again. If it seems like I'm taking a while to get to the actual film, that's because there's not really that much to talk about. Blair Witch is the Blair Witch Project, with a budget raised from $60,000 to $5 million, which has resulted in a larger cast, more special effects, and no, that's pretty much it. The plot is really simple and actually quite clever. The brother of one of the main characters from the original has, after 20 years, decided to go and find out what happened to her. He's brought along a few red shirts, and naturally one of them is a documentary maker, and a few people they meet along the way in a bid to solve the mystery of what happened all those years ago. Now, as this is a Blair Witch film, the whole thing is shot on handheld cameras, all of which seem to have unlimited battery life and a habit of glitching whenever something interesting is about to happen. However, since all the cast are wearing head covers and are rather interchangeable, it can sometimes be difficult to tell exactly who is currently screaming in terror. Yeah, the cast aren't really going to win any awards for acting, and I couldn't tell you any of their names, relationships we tell if you held a gun to my head, but they're functional and about what you'd expect in a 90-minute film. But as for the most important question, yes, it's scary. Very, very scary. After a rather dull 30 minutes of character development, and we actually get into the woods, I was bouncing around like a Mexican jumping bean, and then just when I was wondering about the state of my boxers, they showed the monster. It was slightly more than a glimpse, but slightly less than it coming fully onto the screen for us to get a good look, and yet it was enough for me to realise that I've seen scarier things in episodes of Doctor Who, and it was going so well. Monster with a random bag of vague and yet terrifying powers never seen, thus allowing the audience's worst nightmares to run rampant, versus something from Doctor Who, which is more terrifying. Mind you, I did still sleep with the lights on last night, so it must have been doing something right. I still think you should see it. It's still a scary film. But if they just kept the monster completely unseen, it would have been so much more effective. And actually knowing and caring about the characters would have been a good point as well. But I did like the fact that they actually knew what they were doing. They took in GPS, they took in a drone, they took in batteries and supplies and resources. But it's just not enough if I don't care about the characters and they reveal the monster. Anyway, I'm Daniel, this was A Dunking. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe.